Anybody considering moving to the Portland metro area is going to be thinking, what am I going to be doing with my time? What am I going to do for fun? What am I going to do on the weekends, etc.? And that's something we try to shed light on as much as possible. Of course, people have different interests, lifestyle, people are at different places in life. But the New York Times just came out with an article talking about 36 hours in Portland, what to do, a full itinerary. And I'm going to give you my perspective as a local and talk about some of the things that they missed. All that starts now. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Oregon Relocation Team coming to you from Portland, Oregon. And in this video, it's going to be more of kind of a reaction style video talking about an article that the New York Times came out with talking about 36 hours in Portland. So, like a quick weekend trip, basically a couple nights and a full day exploring Portland, where to go, what to do. I think this is a pretty good comprehensive overview. I think there's not really many surprises on this list necessarily. Of course, from an outside looking in perspective, something like this is going to be a little bit vanilla. So, the purpose of this video is to use this New York Times article as a pretext for talking about maybe some of the things that people might be doing as a local, not necessarily as a tourist, although in Portland, probably in a lot of places, but maybe Portland more so, a lot of the things that you would do as a tourist are actually things that people here locally would do and engage in for fun in their free time. Obviously getting outdoors, enjoying nature, great food scene, the beautiful scenery, the beaches, the mountains, and all the quirky stuff in between. But eating, drinking, being outside, I mean, those are kind of the things that Portland is known for at the most base level. So we're going to talk all about that. Now, if this is your first time to the channel or you've been here and you haven't already and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. And we've helped so many people relocate to Portland and move to the Portland metro area as real estate professionals, as relocation experts. We absolutely love to help with that process. And if that is you, if you are in that situation where you are considering moving to Portland, maybe work is bringing you here, maybe a change of pace, lifestyle, etc. And if you want to talk more about what it's actually like living here, where you should be looking and what you should be looking for, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us and we can talk all about it. Okay, without further ado, we're going to quickly review this itinerary. I'll link to this in the description of the video as well, so you'll have that. We're going to go through this and talk about some of the things they recommend, and I'm going to offer some alternatives and maybe nitpick a little bit some of the things that they recommended. Oh, here I am down here now. So here's the article. Caught my eye. Thought it might be interesting to talk about on our channel. Obviously, the people that we are speaking to are people who are moving to Portland, considering moving to the area, not necessarily people who are traveling here as tourists. But again, I think that there's a lot of stuff in Portland and in this area that overlap in that regard. It's like if you think about if you live in Vegas, you're not going to the Strip all the time necessarily. If you live in Nashville, you're not going to Broadway all the time, or Austin, you're not going to Sixth Street all the time necessarily. Um, Times Square in New York, etc. So, Portland doesn't have a lot of stuff like that to that level as far as tourist attractions as it is. But again, getting outside, uh, and anything really revolving around eating or drinking or participating or observing, participating in or observing some of the more eclectic things about Portland itself. Okay, so of course, we have this hip, maybe coffee shop depicted. This looks like a scene from a typical coffee shop in Portland. Of course, she's got her matcha there. Okay, so Portland's reputation for weirdness is warranted. Its annual can't miss event is a naked bike ride. Yeah, you may have heard of that. Local artists turned a dead mall's DMV into a co-creative working space. I don't know how weird that is, but anyway, I'll let you read the article. There are some key stops here, outdoor activities, restaurants, bars listed here, nightlife and music, shopping and galleries, where to stay, and getting around. So yeah, but there's some good stuff here. In particular, if you were visiting Portland as a tourist, and maybe you were visiting part as a tourist and part as somebody potentially moving here, you still want to get out and have some fun, enjoy the city. There's plenty of good stuff in here that's recommended. So this is a pretty good resource for anybody visiting. Okay, so I just want to go over this kind of quickly in terms of what they're recommending for a 36-hour stay in Portland. So Friday, you get to the airport. Straight from the airport, you go to Mount Tabor. Okay, so we're okay. All right, I'll get out of the way here, but yeah, you can see Mount Tabor. It's on the east side of the river. It's in a cool old neighborhood. You have some west-looking views of the skyline, as depicted here. Big water reservoir up there. It's a beautiful spot. There's a lot of trails. There's a lot of picnic areas. Mount Tabor is really cool. It's a inactive or extinct volcano. It's an inactive or extinct volcano. So it's on the east side of the river. So if you did just get off the plane and you wanted to go for a hike or walk around a park right away, it's probably, yeah, it says 15 minutes here. I don't know if that's the first thing that I would want to do necessarily, even if I was visiting Portland and for sure wanted to get out and, walk around in the trees and, take in the nature and all that. But Mount Tabor is cool. It says from there you're going to go over to the Richmond neighborhood, so you're going to be on Southeast Division, which is a cool entertainment corridor, really kind of gentrified over the last 10 or 15 years in Southeast Portland. And it's recommending going to some thrift stores, maybe getting some wine, a drink, maybe some coffee. A lot of great restaurants on Division as well. So from there, you're going to go to the Hawthorne Asylum food carts or potentially to Con, which is won a bunch of James Beard Awards. Definitely one of the best restaurants in Portland. Probably the best culinary experience I've ever had. I've been there a few times. The Hawthorne Asylum is cool in Hawthorne. Here's the Hawthorne Asylum here. It's just a food cart pod. There's a few of these throughout the city. Food carts are really popular. Um, Outdoor seating, but a lot of it's covered and heated. There's heaters and stuff. So I don't know. That must have been Oregon Hospital for the Insane. Maybe it was right there. I'm not sure, but yeah, you can see. I mean, cool little spot. Definitely an area that locals would go to. But basically, this is saying, okay, go to Mount Tabor, go walk around Division, go get some dinner, and then it's saying to go to the Goodfoot. Great bar, a little bit divey. It's got this basement where they have live music and stuff. Really cool. It's been quite a long time since I've had the opportunity to go out on a Friday or Saturday night, but definitely a fun bar. You're going to see some live music. It's kind of a cool atmosphere, a cool environment. So that's day one, kind of half day and night one in Portland that they're recommending. Saturday, you're going to wake up. Of course, you're going to grab some coffee. Portland has a ton of great coffee shops, so there's no shortage. I mean, you could go, anywhere you would be staying in Portland, you're going to have probably a number of cool coffee shops nearby. So, of course, they're going to recommend doing that. And then it's saying to take a walk through Forest Park. This is saying to walk on the Lower Maclay Trail to this witch's castle, which, oh, look at this thing. I guess it's kind of cool. It was like a bathroom and like a ranger station or something a long time ago, but it's just defunct now. And I mean, you go like maybe a mile or less in, and you see this graffiti covered stone structure. I don't know. Forest Park is awesome. Going to see the witch castle specifically, kind of uh, not the most exciting thing there. But okay, wake up, grab some coffee, go into Forest Park. I mean, if you're coming to Portland and you're going to hike around and you don't want to travel outside of the city, Forest Park is definitely going to be the place to go. I don't know if you need to go to Mount Tabor and Forest Park in the same 36-hour stretch. Now it's telling you to go get ice cream after your walk in the park. Salt and Straw, really good ice cream place, famous. They've opened in LA. I think they're in New York and maybe Denver, and they've opened locations around the country. And I think Dwayne the Rock Johnson is an investor in that company. But saying to go to Northwest 23rd, Nob Hill, the Alphabet District, which is kind of the uptown area just west of the Pearl District, where you're going to get Salt and Straw. A lot of cool shopping, good restaurants over there. So definitely a place, I would recommend somebody go walk around if they were visiting Portland. Now you're going to go from ice cream to a little shopping to a farmer's market. The Portland State Farmers Market is definitely the kind of most popular and biggest farmers market in Portland. It's on the Portland State University campus, which is downtown, kind of on the southwest side of downtown. And there's shops, there's local vendors and things like that. So it's not just, produce, you're getting prepared food, you're getting, all kinds of stuff there. So it's cool. I don't know if I only had a day and a half or 36 hours in a city that I would go to a farmer's market, but I think that does kind of go to show you the level of what Portland has to offer for tourism, is the New York Times is recommending that in your quick stop in Portland that you got to go check out the farmers market because they've ran out of more exciting things to recommend. After the farmers market, you're going to go to the Alberta Arts District, which is a really cool area. It says here offers an excellent east side counterpoint to Nob Hill, which I think is definitely true. Northwest 23rd and Northeast Alberta, the Alberta Arts District, are two areas that are definitely more similar than they are different. There's a lot of main drags, entertainment corridors throughout Portland, in particular on the east side of the river, but Alberta and Northwest 23rd definitely have a lot of similarity in that way. So I think that's an interesting observation that they made. And so, if you're going over Northwest and so if you're going over to Northeast Alberta, you're going to walk up and down the street. You might pop into some shops. You might grab some coffee. You might grab a drink. You might grab a snack. All of that is going to be there. Really cool neighborhood. Definitely an area that people tend to gravitate toward. And interestingly enough, you go to Alberta and then you go to Alberta Park, which is not an unremarkable park by any means. Portland has a lot of really awesome inner city parks, but there's a lot of parks like Alberta Park. And if you recall, we've already been to Mount Tabor and to Forest Park. So I don't think you need to go to a third park in, a 24-hour span in Portland. From the park, you're going to go to one of a couple bars that they mention here with live music. Remember, we went to the Goodfoot last night, so you saw live music at the Goodfoot. This is recommending live music 2 nights in a row, and so again, that might just be kind of indicative of how few things Portland has to offer as far as activities and things to do. But I don't know, kind of interesting that they've recommended 3 parks and then 2 nights of live music. Okay, Sunday, you're going to wake up, you're going to get breakfast. We have really wonderful restaurants across the board, and a lot of these great restaurants will offer breakfast, so brunch, whatever, so there's diners, kind of your classic style breakfast. There's more kind of artisanal, and there's more kind of elevated, fancy type places that you could go get breakfast too. Depending on, if you'd rather spend $12 to $15 on breakfast or $25 to $35 on a breakfast meal, would kind of determine where you would end up. So you go get breakfast, and then it's saying to go to the spa to do a soaking pool, which, yeah, kind of cool, I guess. If you're on vacation, it's a popular thing to do, to go to a spa, get a massage, whatever it is. So, you've been to 3 parks, you've been out walking around, you've been dancing your fanny off. Some live music, and why not hit the spa before you get back to the airport? All right, so as a Portland local, do I think this is a good itinerary for somebody making a quick weekend trip to Portland? I think it's pretty representative of about as action-packed of a visit to Portland as you could make. I think you could diversify your activities a little bit. I think you've probably got from me the impression that, Portland's not all that exciting. It's not a top tourist destination necessarily. I mean, it is and it isn't, but it's not like some of the places I mentioned earlier, Vegas and Nashville and Austin and New York and Miami and LA and you name it down the line. I think if you come here, yeah, you're going to count on getting outside, you're going to count on eating a lot, getting a lot of coffee, drinks, stuff like that. I mean, you saw live music, of course, that's great. I mean, soaking pools and spas and doing that. I mean, you can kind of do that anywhere. I think there's some great opportunities for that here, and if that's what you wanted to do on a quick vacation, you certainly could. But I do think there was a little too much redundancy here in what they were recommending. One thing I forgot to mention as I was going through their itinerary was it recommended to go to Powell's bookstore, which you've probably heard of. It's, I think it's the largest independent bookstore in the country. And it's really cool. It's definitely a place as a Portland local. I probably get to at least once a year, maybe twice a year, whether I'm buying a book or buying a gift or killing some time. There's a coffee shop in there. Really cool place just to walk around and browse. But I think the fact that you have a farmer's market and you have a bookstore recommended as your must-see places in your very quick visit to Portland, and you're trying to maximize getting kind of the everything Portland has to offer. Again, I think it's pretty indicative of the fact that, again, Portland is not necessarily the most exciting place in the world. Now, bookstores are awesome. That's nothing against bookstores or farmers markets. And again, Powell's bookstore is awesome. And the PSU farmers market is really cool. There's a lot of other farmers markets too around Portland and around the Portland metro area. So you can check out different farmers markets, throughout kind of like around the March, April time through the fall. And there's a lot of cool independent bookstores too, and resale shops and vintage shops and thrift shops and antique stores and things like that. So there's a lot of cool kind of eclectic shopping, that you could do. I don't know necessarily if many people are going to be doing this stuff on a quick visit to Portland. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents on that. Okay, so you saw that they recommended live music 2 nights in a row. I mean, okay, that's cool. If you like live music, I do. Live music's awesome. I mean, the Goodfoot and the places that they recommended are really cool venues. I think it would be really fun if that is what you did when you visited, but it's definitely not the only thing available. There's all kinds of bars, from the diviest of dive bars to sports bars to kind of club type bars to more fancy upscale cocktail bars, things like that. I mean, everything in between. So if you were going to be out, whether it's seeing live music or just being in that type of environment, there are all kinds of opportunities to do that. Now, if you don't want to center your night around going to a bar, whether you're listening to live music or not, Portland in Portland, there are some great opportunities for sporting events. Of course, we have the Portland Trailblazers. And so from about October through April, you could definitely hit a Portland Trailblazers game. You have the Portland Timbers, really fun experience. The stadium's right downtown in the middle of the city. So to go see a soccer game could be a lot of fun. We have the Hillsboro Hops. You have to get all the way out to Hillsboro, but that's a farm team, minor league baseball. Same with the Portland Pickles, another baseball team. So, I mean, there's some opportunities to go see a sporting event, which I think a lot of people would want to do. And I think that's maybe something that was missed here as something that you could do and really get kind of a true Portland experience. Portland, you may not think it is a pretty good sports town in that way. Obviously, we don't have MLB baseball or football, but but overall, sports fandom is a pretty big part of the culture in Portland, just like it is anywhere. At least to the degree that it is in any city with professional sports. And so this itinerary was really heavy on the hiking and going to the parks as well. Forest Park is definitely something that somebody should experience if they want to get out and walk around in the trees, do some hiking. It's not super intense, so I mean, you could do a very leisurely walk depending on the trail that you take and where you're going in Forest Park. Or I think, or there's dozens and dozens of miles of trails. I don't know exactly how many, but yeah, I mean, you could spend a whole day hiking in Forest Park as well. Mount Tabor is cool. Alberta Park and some of the other more inner city parks with trees and kind of paths throughout are cool to see, but I wouldn't say they're must see things if you are a visitor to Portland. Now, if you are thinking about moving to Portland and you're touring neighborhoods, I think any park that's within a mile or two of that neighborhood would be important to go check out. So there's that aspect of it. But generally, if you're visiting Portland, I think Forest Park is the only place you really need to go if you want to get out and do a little hike. Or, I mean, and what wasn't mentioned here is like within 90 minutes to 2 hours radius around Portland, in particular, going east to the mountains and to Mount Hood, or going west to the coastal range and out to the beach offer so many opportunities to really, I think, explore and take in the natural beauty, the diversity of landscapes, and I think just everything that somebody would envision when they're thinking about living in the Pacific Northwest. Now, you could go south, and there's places like Silver Falls State Park. Um, you could go east. You could go east out the Columbia River Gorge, and then north into Washington. There's a ton of great hikes up there, and the Clifford Pinochet National Forest, I think, State Forest. I think it's National Forest though. But out the Columbia River Gorge, there's a ton of awesome hikes, waterfalls, and just the drive. You know, if you drove out to Multnomah Falls, which is a popular thing to do for somebody visiting, you're gonna be able to really take in that landscape and scenery. You know, you can do the quick little 15-minute walk up to the bridge under the Multnomah Falls, which is, you know, it's cool to see. If you lived here, you know, you wouldn't have to go more than a couple times probably before you'd probably want to go start seeing, you know, other hikes, other waterfalls, things like that. But point being is that, you know, it's talking about Mount Tabor and kind of a random park in the Alberta Arts area, where if you're really coming here to explore, do some hiking, get outdoors, you know, you wouldn't have to go too far in any direction to really get the true experience. Now I've got a few more recommendations that weren't mentioned on this list at all that I think could really make for a fun trip, quick trip, weekend trip to Portland. If you're here in the warmer months, getting out on the water is always a ton of fun. So you can get out on the Willamette River that runs right through the city. And there's not necessarily a ton of beaches or places that you would want to go necessarily unless you go to Sauvie Island. But there is a really cool boat tour through island style charters where you can tour basically, you know, going north of the city a few miles and then south of the city a few miles. And it's about a 90-minute or maybe even longer, couple-hour trip. But basically, you're getting a tour of the entire city from the river, which is a really cool vantage point, and it gives you an opportunity again just to be out on the water, experience Portland from kind of a different perspective, and obviously, you know, who doesn't love a good boat ride? So island style charters, in fact, I have a promo code for anybody who is visiting Portland and wants to book with them. They book cruises, I mean, I think just about every day, especially at least in the warmer months. But, you know, there's different types of tours that you can check out on their website. I'll put a link to this in the description of the video as well. But there's a lot of other rivers that you can get to, creeks and swimming holes and lakes. Obviously, the ocean stays pretty cold, so you're probably not swimming in the ocean if you drive out to the beach. But you know, you can get knee high in the ocean, no problem. That's a lot of fun. So there are plenty of opportunities to get out on the water when you're visiting Portland. Another cool thing to do would be to tour the Shanghai tunnels in Portland. So this is a part of Portland's kind of dark history, dark past, early kind of turn of the century, where Portland was regarded as, I think, one of the most dangerous places in the country to live, at least in part because people were getting kidnapped, dropped down into the Shanghai tunnels, sent out on a ship, and then sent over to China, I believe, to work as laborers. And you know, you go through the tour. They tell you the whole story and kind of history of it. It's pretty cool, and you can see some of these. Get out of the way and see some of these photos here. Kind of a cool opportunity again to see just a different side of Portland than just getting coffee and, you know, getting going to craft breweries. Another thing somebody could do, if especially if you really want to get a glimpse of kind of the best and the worst of Portland, would be just to do a lap around the waterfront. You can, I'll show you on a map. Because we have so many bridges, it's really easy to get from the east side to the west side. And all along Waterfront Park here downtown, there's walking paths, and the path actually extends all the way north here, but you can cross the Broadway Bridge. But the steel bridge here has underneath the bridge a walking path, and you can see this path extends on this East Bank Esplanade, and you can walk along the east side, looking west toward the skyline. You can cross over the Hawthorne Bridge here, or you can cross over the New Tillicum Bridge, which is a pedestrian and public transit crossing only. You can actually, oops, on the west side here, you can go down past the South Waterfront. You can go down to Willamette Park. So there's just this big, long, contiguous trail, in particular on the west side along the river, and you can cross some of the bridges and get to the east side, walk on that side as well. But I think this gives you a really interesting vantage point of the city, kind of in and of itself. You're walking along the water, so that's nice. You can see the city skyline. You can see the West Hills behind the city. So the scenery is nice. In your immediate area, I think here, just as much as some of the other areas of downtown and the inner east side, you're going to see some of the things that represent some of the biggest issues Portland has. So I'll let you fill in the blanks there, but you know, you're not going to do this walk, this loop or kind of walk up and down the waterfront and feel unsafe. There's a lot of people out riding their bike. There's kids, people have kids out there. People going on jogs, people going on walks. So it's not like dark and scary, and there wouldn't be any reason to feel like you're in danger necessarily. But again, I mean, you're getting really this contrast of kind of this beautiful city, again, the West Hills, the trees, and then you can kind of see some evidence of some not so good stuff too. So that, I mean, that's a really good way to take in Portland if you just wanted to go on a walk but maybe didn't want to go walk through a park like Mount Tabor, for example. That wouldn't be a bad way that wouldn't be a bad way to spend a little time either. All right, so a few more points and then we're going to wrap it up here. So a lot of people are going to be traveling to Portland with kids, and a lot of what's mentioned here, long hikes, drinking coffee, going to the spa, that's obvious. Those are obviously more adult activities and things that you wouldn't necessarily be doing with kids. So if you were visiting Portland with kids, I mean, obviously there's a lot of great food and there's a lot of really kid-friendly restaurants. So there's definitely plenty of opportunities to enjoy the culinary culture of Portland with children and visiting with kids. But there's other things that you can do, of course, that this list does not mention, like go to OMSI, the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. It's a ton of fun, and I recommend anybody moving here with kids get a annual membership, which is really pretty affordable compared to the admission just for kind of a one-time visit. And there's all kinds of stuff there, and there's exhibits that change out periodically. That's a really good place to spend time in some of the colder, wetter, rainier months. Is OMSI. A lot of really interactive exhibits and little experiments that kids can run. It's a lot of fun. You also have the Oregon Zoo, which also has an annual membership, which is pretty affordable. Again, when you hold it up against the just individual kind of day pass that they might offer, and you can go to the zoo year round. We do, and December, January, February, of course, it's going to be colder, but you get plenty of days with a little bit of sunshine, or if it's not raining and it's maybe upper 40s or mid 40s, something like that. It's tolerable to get out and walk around the zoo. So the zoo would be definitely something to check out if you were visiting Portland with kids. You also have Children's Museum. You've got the Rose Test Garden up in Washington Park, so that's going to be more in the warmer months. Up in Washington Park as well, you have the Japanese Garden, which is really cool. That one you have to pay for admission, but just little things like that to do that are a little more kid friendly. And I think there's all kinds of stuff beyond that you could engage in. But those would probably be some of the biggest ones if you were visiting Portland with children. Another thing too is this particular itinerary took you to the Alberta Arts District up here. I think there was something like a grabbing a coffee on North Williams here, but North Williams, North Mississippi, this area here, Mississippi, this area here, in Southeast, um, Stark, Belmont, Burnside, even Gleason, Hawthorne, Division. I mean, there are a ton of these corridors and these little neighborhoods on the east side of Portland, throughout Portland, but on the east side in particular, that are really going to be pretty interchangeable experiences. So I don't think Hawthorne got mentioned, for example. Belmont didn't get mentioned, for example. We talked about Northwest 23rd and Nob Hill, this area. Remember, we talked about Sultan Straats right there. But you also have the Pearl District, which has a lot of great restaurants and things to do. You've got really kind of more neighborhoody stuff in Southwest Portland, like Multnomah Village. So, again, you could put this itinerary together in any number of ways if you're talking about just exploring Portland neighborhoods and some of these different entertainment corridors and entertainment districts. And, you could visit Portland dozens of times and not have the same experience twice. And of course, what about touring neighborhoods? If you are visiting Portland and if, of course, you want to get a feel for what Portland is like and where the fun stuff is and how you're going to be spending your time and all of that, you also want to get the lay of the land. You also want to look at neighborhoods that are going to suit you. And that might be in Portland in some of the areas that we have talked about. Very well could be in any number of the suburbs throughout the metro area surrounding Portland. Because if you live in those suburbs, if you live in Beaverton or if you live in Tualatin or if you live in Gresham or Milwaukee, whatever it is, you're probably still going to be getting into the city quite a bit, and you're still going to be going to some of these areas and great restaurants and going to a sporting event, going to Forest Park, all that good stuff. So if you're carving out time for that, and if that's something you're doing on a visit to Portland, and if you want to talk more about putting together an itinerary with that in mind, that's something we help people with all the time is making the most of their visit so they cover enough ground and they are actually looking in areas that are viable as opposed to exploring areas that wouldn't necessarily be a good fit. So if you want to have that conversation and talk more about setting up an itinerary for your visit, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email. Click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us and we can talk all about that. If this video is helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, we really appreciate you watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.